Welcome to Training Minutes. We're here in Fairfield, Connecticut, and today we're going to take you over Doffing superheated gear. Justin, can you take us over how the gear works?
Sure, Frank. There's three layers to our gear. There's an outside layer, a moisture barrier, and an inside layer, a thermal layer. Each one is very unique in how it protects us, but what's very important is that there's air pockets inside, which are poor conductors of heat, which provides us the protection we need in a superheated environment.
That's why in flashover training, we teach not to compress the firefighter's gear because it could result in a burn. Remember, if you got to get a downed firefighter out of the environment, you may have to manhandle them. But once you get the firefighter removed, or you remove yourself, you don't want to be patted down. You definitely don't want to roll on the ground. That's something we just teach the kids. And you don't want to put a hose line on the firefighter. Time and time again in this country, we see the hose line go up on the firefighter. That gear is off-gassing. So it's very important not to put the line on the firefighter, but to gingerly remove the gear. As you can see here, the gear is off-gassing. This is going to be the sign that you look for removing and doffing that gear. Remember, this is only an emergency procedure.
Okay, now we're going to demonstrate how to doff this firefighter's superheated gear. First, the firefighter is going to stand with his arms out, with a second firefighter coming in to loosen all of his straps without compressing the gear. It's important that you work as a team, and if you have to, make sure that you have verbal contact with the firefighter. Make sure that he's okay, check his air, make sure that he's okay with the air. If he's been in that superheated environment, his blood pressure is going to be elevated, his temperature is going to be elevated. It's going to be important for him to seek medical attention after this is completed. Here we have the two firefighters. They're going to work together. One firefighter is going to hold his air pack. The other firefighter is going to come in, remove his gloves. He's going to loosen up all the flaps. It's important to get all the velcro off so it doesn't hinder the removal of the gear afterwards. In this case, we have a zipper. He's going to unzip the firefighter's gear, come around behind the firefighter, grasp the gear, and roll it down the firefighter without damaging the thermal barrier that those air pockets have created. You're going to roll it all the way down and take the gear down off of the firefighter's hands. At this time, he's going to do the same for the pants. If he was wearing suspenders, you could roll the suspenders off. You would loosen up the waist belt in this case, undo the velcro, and in this case unzip or unbuckle the pants, and the same thing, roll the pants down.
There's a tendency sometimes for a chief officer or someone to come up on the scene and assist without gloves on. Remember, any buckles on the SCBA, buckles on the gear, or the chin strap can cause a second degree burn right to the hands.
It's absolutely true, Frank. Here the firefighter is going to take his feet out of the boots. And from here we're going to loosen up the helmet strap and remove the helmet. It's now that the hood, the regulator, and the mask facepiece can be removed from the firefighter.
Remember, these buckles, even though protected by the hood, could still be hot. So you want to try to pull them away from the head and loosen them up.
It may seem like a methodical process, and at the time you may be rushing, but you have to remember, like Frank said in the earlier segment, or at the beginning of the segment, pardon me, that you have to make sure that you don't compress, you don't pat, and you don't roll the firefighter. Now our firefighter's had his gear successfully removed, and he could seek medical attention if necessary for any burns, dehydration, or elevated temperature.
When inspecting your gear, especially if the gear is discolored, we want to make sure that the gear is cool, and take your hand and see if you can rip or tear the gear. If it's not brittle, that just means that the dye burned off on the outside of the coat, and the coat still may be good. But I caution you, you have to make sure you take apart the coat and check out your vapor barrier. You can see a little discoloration here. If there's any damage at all, any melting, discoloration for the inside vapor barrier, you need to send the gear out to the manufacturer. When in doubt, send it out. It's important that we inspect our gear before use and after each alarm. We learned today the dangers of compression and also saturated gear in superheated environments.
Saturated gear isn't just a danger to us in superheated environments, but it's also a danger because it creates a growth point for bacteria and microorganisms inside our gear, which isn't healthy for us.
If you're conducting live fire training and your gear gets saturated, that should be the end of interior operations. We also got to be careful during flashover training that if the gear is wet, we don't want to steam a firefighter. We want to thank our sponsor, Globe, for their dedication to firefighter safety and survival, as well as Patrick Brown from the Chicago Fire Department for bringing this issue to the forefront.